Q&A with Christophe.
Q&A with Christophe.
Q&A with Christophe.
Here I'm back with one episode of my little series about Q&A with Christophe. This time it's a question from Joanne from the US, and she's asking, how can I find out who to believe and who not to believe about food and agriculture? It's a good question, but the answer is rather difficult because it has many dimensions. As we know, well, there are lots of people talking about food and agriculture, amazing number of experts and opinions that basically cover the whole scope of opinions you can imagine, really from one end to the total opposite of it, with major fights and sometimes actually very aggressive interactions. So, who to believe in all that noise? Well, that's not simple, but I think it starts with you. What is your own level of knowledge? And by knowledge, I mean solid knowledge, not the knowledge you find on internet or on social media without really being able to figure out who is saying what. The more knowledge and really solid knowledge you have, of course, the better in position you are to figure out who is telling something sensible and who is saying complete nonsense. So I would say, if your level of knowledge is not particularly large, maybe you should just start, take your time, just start to learn. Because the thing is, you don't have to know everything immediately. We live in a society where we want almost instant gratification. We want to be able to have all the answers right away. In food and agriculture, well, forget it. You're never going to have all the answers right away. So take the time to learn, really listen to all sorts of opinions, but also do your research on the people. So I would say, if you really want to really get a good idea about what's true, what's not true, have an open mind. Don't prejudge of what people say with why do they say that, and are they serious or not. Just listen and read, and you're going to absorb a whole bunch of things. But I would say, as long as you do that, don't judge. Because over time, what you're going to see, you're going to bump in the same issues on a more and more regular basis, and you're going to also see, the same people talking about the same things. So you need to also have a bit of an idea about who are those people. A thing I do when I see something a little strange is I go on LinkedIn and I try to figure out, okay, who are those people? Because also on LinkedIn, that's one of my frustrations. A lot of people on their title, instead of their title, they have beautiful description, very often something like working very hard to save the planet. What does that mean? And then I look and I see, oh, you work in an industry that is actually kind of very controversial, who has a lot of issues, or is on the hot seat when it comes to environmental things. So why are you with your title trying to kind of present yourself differently? Why don't you say then what is your position in that particular company? That makes me feel very uncomfortable. So I really like personally to feel comfortable with people. I don't like people who kind of embellish the truth or try to hide things. I like people who are very straightforward. I also like people who are willing to engage in a dialogue. I like people who also listen. Because it's a good sign when you see people who basically do not accept any other opinion than theirs. That's not very healthy. And you have to figure out, is there a hidden agenda? Do those people just are willing to explain and talk about what they personally think as being the truth, or are they kind of trying to bring a message from a particular interest group? And let's face it, their interest group, pro and anti food systems of any kind. So we have to be very, very careful. So try to figure out if there is a hidden agenda, and if there is one, I wouldn't say don't listen, but I would say listen with the knowledge that they may have a hidden agenda. Because the thing is, even in those very opposite opinions, not everybody is saying only nonsense, and not everybody is saying only sensible things. Once in a while, there are some good arguments brought by whoever, and I think it's always good to take that into account and process it in your own opinion that you have about how food and agriculture is conducted. And I would say, although it's a horrible place in my opinion, social media, because, well, there's a lot of outrageous and extreme behavior, but I would say it's kind of a 80-20% rule. 20% of the people make maybe something like 80% of the noise, so you have to kind of navigate a little bit through the noise. But what's interesting if you go on social media is to figure out who are the tribes, because it's very clear social media, it's tribalism at its, I don't know, best or worst, I don't know which term to choose. But you're going to figure out very quickly in those tribes, it's always the same people who are kind of coming back. So you're going to figure out who are those influential people, maybe even call them influencers if you want, and you're going to figure out who is playing which role. But try to figure out that, all those influential people represent maybe only 20% of all the people that are addressing the issues of food and agriculture, and that 80% of what is said is just noise. But you have to find the 20% produced by those 80% sensible people to figure out what you can extract from that. Very, very quickly, you're going to figure out who's who, and so who you should believe or not. I would say people who are intolerant, people who are aggressive, don't spend too much time on their case. It's good to know what they say, because then at least you know what they say. But they're probably not the people who are really working to help you the best. So, take the time, enjoy, learn, and also I would say, go meet people, real people in the real life who really work in food and agriculture, whichever part of the food value chain, and have a conversation with them. People, generally speaking, are very, very interested, and they love to talk about what they do, and they will also give you some new, fresh insights, and not something that is, with a particular purpose of either promoting or trying to shoot down something. So, yeah, enjoy, take your time, and you'll figure it out.
If you're interested in my videos, please click on the subscribe button, or you can also visit my website.